Hey YouTubers, it's Nurse J at Nursing the Truth, and I hope everyone's having a great day. It is Friday. Yay! This has been one heck of a week, I tell you. So, watch my video about the sexual PISO family in the book of Mark. And now we're going to go to the book of Matthew, how our Roman PISO family, as they constructed this menagerie that we read and we call the inerrant word of God, had a lot of sexual perversion innuendos in there. Um, and they knew exactly what they were writing and how they were going to say things. Um, it's like also too they said that it says you have already become educated to the truth about God being a created concept, but God was also used as a title that was inherited by successive royals. And so when you read God, it is something like which is found in Matthew 3:9. God is being used as a title for a person who is playing God in that instance. Matthew 3:9, and it says, "For I say to you that God is able from these stones to raise up children." There is a dual meaning hidden in this passage, but the one we are looking at is the person who is playing God in the passage is saying that his stones are able to raise up children. In other words, he's saying that his testes can get children sexually aroused. Matthew 5:8 says, "An eye for an eye," which really meant an anus for an anus. If you can do mine, I can do yours. And remember that the spelling of these two words in the original Greek are very close in spelling, so that a person who was fluent in Greek could get an idea of what was being said, if not on a conscious level, then on a subconscious level. Matthew 7:3, "In thy brother's eye." Here we have the eye reference being used again. But in addition to that, we have the word brother. Why is that? Because one who knows Roman history also knows that back in that time, the word brother has the double meaning or alternate meaning of male sexual partner. So now we read the sentence as, "In your male sex partner's anus." Such is the construction of many of the New Testament passages. And continuing in Matthew 7:3, "Consider not the beam in thy own eye," which is a crude joke, meaning never mind that there is a huge beam in your anus. Matthew 7:4, "Let me pull the mote out of thine eye also, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye." Matthew 7:5, "The beam out of thine own eye, and the mote out of thy brother's eye." Matthew 9:29, "Then he touched their eyes were opened." Matthew 10:21, "And children will rise up against parents and put them to death," as in Mark the passage is the same. Matthew 18:1-6, in this passage a child is called it, and the word heavens means that he intends to use the child sexually and then kill it. But this way was likely not unique to the royals of the time when Christianity was being created. Perhaps this was a practice of at least certain royals going back much farther, and this is because of a pattern that can be in the practice of sacrificing children and virgins to God. Matthew 19:13-15, "Then were brought to him Jesus the little children, that hands he might lay on them, and might pray. But the disciples rebuked them. But Jesus said, Suffer the little children, and not forbid them to come to me. For as such is the kingdom of the heavens. And having laid upon them hands. He departed then. So, let's break this down. There are several things that one needs to notice about the sentence. For one thing, it never says that he was laying hands on them to cure or heal them of anything, or that they were cured of anything. It does say that he touched them, and the passage could read that he laid upon them. Also, hands is another sexual word that refers to male sex organs. And in our research on the subject of the sexual nature of the Bible, we have already discussed what prayer really was and is. It is a mocking of someone given oral sex, and so that is also what is used for as a euphemism in the Bible. So given that information, what do you think the passage above really refers to? The passage also gives the reader the impression that the disciples rebuked those who had brought the children to Jesus. But that is not the case, in fact. The people who brought the children, if the story had been true, would probably have been hired and paid to round up the children. Instead, reading the passage as we now know it, the disciples, or those who were with Jesus, Arius, Calpurnus, Piso, rebuked the children. In other words, they were harsh and mishandling them when Jesus spoke up and made it clear to them that those children were going to die, so that they did not need to get the children upset or slap them around unless they wanted to. Jesus / Arius Piso says in the passage, as if addressing the parents of the children, suffer because the little children have come to him to be sexual with him and then be killed. But do not forbid them to come to him, because that is his privilege as a royal. And then he says in Matthew 19:17, why do you call me good? No one is good. He is mocking the fact that he has fooled so many people into believing that he, Jesus, is good. Matthew 20:33, Lord, that our eyes may be opened. Matthew 21:42 says, isn't it marvelous in our eyes? The word it being the operative word in connection to the word eyes. It, of course, is a phallus. So, there again, more naughty, dirty little words. And you know, when I was reading, even in the Bible, that verse, Matthew 19:13-15, about bringing the little children to him and they rebuked him, I always thought that was a strange verse. Like, why would the disciples rebuke them? It just really didn't make sense, because see, we don't know the royals' language of the time, what their sexual perversion words were. So we might be thinking one way when we read this. If you take the book literal, you see, like taking this sentence literal, like in today's time, where this Jesus character would have said, why do you call me good? No one is good except for God. But that's not what it means. So we need to start over. This whole thing needs to come down. The whole thing. And if we come together as a collective consciousness and get rid of this and put good vibrations out to bring us to the golden age and just forget all of this. Our minds have been cluttered with so much garbage that we cannot even think for ourselves. But it's time that we stand up, and it's time that we unleash what the creator of the all that the Egyptians talked about is know ourselves. And when we come to know ourselves, we have known the gods. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend, and hopefully I can get rid of this little froggy, scratchy throat. So until then, guys, Hotep and Ashe, and God Thoth loves you, and so does Nurse J. So we'll see you next time. Goodbye.